Welcome inside the RXMuscle studios in New York for another episode of Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Visit speciesnutrition.com, and while supplies last, any purchases of $20 or more after all discounts are applied, you will get a free Species Survival of the Freakiest zip-up hoodie available for men. $20 purchases. Go now to rxmuscle.com and you will get one of these zip-up hoodies. 30-minute question and answer.
Or women, Sid.
Right,
women can buy them too.
No, women can, but they're...
We have small through triple extra large.
Again, this is a 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. We are one day away from boarding a plane to going to Las Vegas to bring you full wall-to-wall coverage of the 2016 Olympia. We wanted to get this show in before we did just that. Reminder, after this show, so about 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are going to present Guru Mania Part 2 Iron Debate as the RX Muscle panel, which will feature Chad Nichols, well-renowned trainer, coach. He will join the panel, and we will all give our predictions on the 2016 Olympia. Dave, as we bring you in here again, a lot going on. We leave for Las Vegas tomorrow. Chad Nichols joining us on Iron Debate right after this show, and of course, the special going on right now on speciesnutrition.com.
I interrupted you before. Sorry, Sid. I broke your train of thought. But I got to tell you, I got yelled at by the office staff because I announced this great sweatshirt giveaway. And this is a $40 sweatshirt I'm giving away. We have so many of them. I'm trying to move a little inventory. When we run out, that's it. Okay, so this is a once in a chance in a lifetime. It's a free $40 sweatshirt, Survival of the Freakiest, Jerry Beck original. When you check out, first of all, after all the coupons are put in, you must have over $20 purchased on the site. Also, you have to indicate what size you want on the checkout or we won't give you a sweatshirt. So make sure you add that sweatshirt to the cart. Like on checkout, you'll see it. You pick the size you want, and we'll send you that sweatshirt for free. And if you want to even juice things up a little bit more, you can use the coupon code AP, that's Apple, or Amanda Palumbo it stands for, AP25, and you'll get 25% off your purchase. It doesn't apply to discounted or I guess you could say closeout items that we have on there. So it only applies to the regular items. Guys, it's a great offer. And you know what? We got so much going on here. I just sold a fish tank in my office, and the guy who bought the fish tank owns a bagel store here. And I don't know if you guys have ever tried a New York bagel. Probably a lot of you haven't. They're unbelievable. And I have got a bagel this guy brought me that I have never seen in my life. You'll only see this in New York. I'm going to hold it up. It is a rainbow bagel. Would you look at this thing? It's almost too nice to eat. I don't want to bite into it. It looks so beautiful. It looks like something from the 60s, you know, a hippie bagel, maybe they should call it. This is awesome. And I want to thank him for bringing that bag of bagels. I'm sure they'll be devoured by the time the show's over. And once again, I'm super excited for Guru Mania 2. Chad Nichols finally coming on the show. I think this is his first time on the show ever.
It is, yeah.
On at least one of our original TV programs. And Chris Aceto will be on, and I think John Romano will be joining us as well. We'll be doing predictions, and we're going to be answering some pretty intense topics.
So, of course, that and a whole lot more. Reminder, tomorrow night we will be in Vegas, so we're going to be recording all sorts of preview videos, wrap-up videos, athlete interviews. Thursday is the press conference at noon Pacific Coast time, but we will be covering it nonetheless. We're going to be live tweeting it, so you're going to want to follow us on our social media channels, which is on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you're not already registered to the Muscle Central Forum on RXMuscle.com, that is the way you're going to be able to view our full photo gallery and just about every other piece of analysis that we're going to be providing along the way. And then, of course, our live play-by-play during all events is going to be on the Muscle Central Forum and our social media channel. Again, follow us, RXMuscle.com. We go now to the Muscle Central Forum on RXMuscle.com and go to Aaron_Iron Dave, I hate this show so much that I'd rather listen to Hanny Rambo's pre-cardio advice on keeping leg sweep fuller during cardio. Question. In an earlier episode of Ask Dave, you mentioned you were going to come out with an alkaline powder water additive and micronized creatine product. What's the status? Also, I just purchased vitamin E but found out it's a synthetic version and heard it can be dangerous to consume compared to natural vitamin E. What is your take on this?
Vitamin E is, I've read some stuff on that too. Obviously, the natural vitamin E's seem to be better. I don't know for your health. I've read some of the reports. They're kind of conflicting. I don't think they're as dangerous, the synthetic vitamin E's, as they say. So don't get too crazy. If you have a bottle of it, you can use it. Don't worry about it. As far as the what was the other question?
So about the alkaline
yeah.
water additive, and then also the micronized creatine.
I get yelled at in the office all the time because I come out with products that I know people need, but if they don't sell well, I get yelled at because then we have extra inventory left over. So I probably won't come out with the alkalinized water additive right now because I do sell those alkalinized ion pods on DavePalumbo.com, and I sell the pH 9 generator, which is also an alkalinization product. And those sell really well on DavePalumbo.com. You can add your water to it. The ion pod will filter the water and create a high pH. The pH 9 generator doesn't filter the water; it just makes a high pH. So both those products are awesome. I really can't improve upon those. But the micronized, actually, it's ultra micronized creatine, which will be coming out. We're calling it creolized. It'll be powdered creolized, and it'll be ultra micronized, so that it's such a fine powder we've pulverized this stuff into that the solubility will be tremendous. It will be close to. Never going to be 100% because creatine doesn't solubilize 100% in water, but it'll be close to it. You guys are going to love it. It's an unflavored product. It's not going to be expensive. I'm making it available so people can use this stuff readily, and they don't, I don't believe that anything needs to be added to it. You can throw it in your protein shakes, post-workout. That's what I would do with it. I think that works the best right there. And if you're not it's on an off day, you can just throw it in with some juice, or you can just throw it in with a regular protein shake, even if you want to. The truth of the matter is, even though creatine needs insulin to be driven into the muscle cell, we're always producing insulin. Even if you're on a ketogenic diet, your body is always producing glucose from amino acids in the liver. Once that's done and that glucose enters the bloodstream, your body releases insulin. So you don't need a ton of insulin to get creatine into the muscle cell. You just need a little bit. So there's no sense in adding tons of sugar to your creatine product. It's overkill.
This is going to be a more abbreviated version of the show. Ask Dave. After this show, we are going to present Guru Mania Part 2, as we're going to have Chris Aceto, Chad Nichols, and we're waiting on John Romano. He is good. I'm getting word that John Romano is going to be joining us, so we're going to have a full staff for Guru Mania Part 2 as the RXMuscle panel, including Chad Nichols, are going to predict the 2016 Olympia. It's going to be in about 20 minutes right here on RXMuscle.com. Let's go to Sean Corrigan. Dave, sign up to your app and going to run your mass building cycle. I was wondering what you'd consider an acceptable weight gain per week and body fat to bulk to. You always seem to stay lean even when adding size and when eating McDonald's. Was there a way you managed this, or just a rapid metabolism?
I had a very fast metabolism, so as much weight as I could add per week would be great. I would take it all. There was a point where I gained, I think I told you this, a pound a day for 20 days. I gained 20 pounds when I took IGF-1 for the first time. But for most people, 2 pounds, a week is probably good. Initially when you first start a bulking phase, you gain a lot of water weight. So you're going to put 8 and 10 pounds on right off the bat. But when I do my off seasons with guys, they send me updates every 2 weeks, and I'm looking for anywhere from 2 to 4 pounds is good. If it's a little less one week or a little more another week, that's fine, because your body is in the machine. You're not going to gain consistently every single week. You're going to gain in spurts. So what I noticed about myself was that I would gain a lot of weight for couple weeks in a row, and then I would plateau, and then I would change some stuff up, and I would start gaining again. So don't get so wrapped up in the numbers. If your strength is going up and you look bigger and you feel better, then you're in the right direction. If you're not gaining strength and you're not gaining fullness and the scale's not moving, then you're probably not eating enough food. And that's what you have to try to figure out. Is it not enough protein, fat, or carbs? And that's where a coach comes in.
Let's go to THC Ice Cream. Dave, I hate this show so much I'd rather be stuck in a hyperbaric chamber with Greg Valentino, just as you could probably guess what hits him. I have a question regarding clenbuterol. Would it be suitable and safe for someone with no previous experience to use it, and would it even contribute to muscle or strength gain at all? If so, what kind of protocol would you advise?
Well, clenbuterol is a good first drug to use, because it's not hormonal. It's not going to affect your hormonal system at all in your body. It was the first thing I ever used. It increases muscle contractility, so you're definitely going to notice strength increases. You do get some cramping sometimes from because of that increased contractility as well. It is anti-catabolic in the sense that it will help you recover better. It will block cortisol's effects a little bit, so you will grow a little bit from it. Not much, but you'll get some growth from it. But more importantly, you'll get a lot of fat burning. It rapidly mobilizes fatty acids, especially the first couple of weeks that you use it. I recommend guys start with 20 micrograms twice a day if you're using it, and maybe increase it by 20 micrograms, every 2 to 3 weeks. I wouldn't, if you're doing like for mass gaining or anything like that, I probably wouldn't go over 3 or 4 pills, and over 60 or 80 micrograms a day. If you're doing it for fat burning, for contest prep, you can go up to 120 micrograms per day. But once again, you got to increase that gradually, and you only take 20 microgram doses per dose. In other words, don't do 40 and 40 when you get up to 4 pills a day. Always space it 24 times a day.
Let's go to Baby Muscle on the Muscle Central forum on RXMuscle.com. Dave, why do some people drink liquid Winstrol instead of just consuming tablets or injecting it? Is it possible to dose it properly that way? I know females who do this because they don't want to inject, but why drink it over tabs, and is there any benefit to this?
Winstrol injectable is basically sterile Winstrol powder. It's not different. It's the same substance. It's just that's why you have to shake it up, and it's just powder that's been sterile, and hopefully it's sterile in a sterile water. I always thought injecting it was the best way to go because obviously it's going right into your bloodstream. You're not having to go through the liver the first time. It only goes through the liver one time, which makes it less toxic when you inject it, and I think more potent because you're losing some potency when it gets digested through the oral route. Now, guys do that because injecting Winstrol leaves you sore. It inflames the muscle a little bit. So guys don't want that soreness, so they figure, well, I'll just drink it. It's easier. Either way, the absorption it's Winstrol's Winstrol. But once again, if you get a good product and you can inject it, I think it works better that way, and it has less toxicity.
Let's go to Typhon. Dave, I have no strong feelings one way or the other about this show. Keto question. What would you consider normal blood glucose levels on keto? Currently at 80 to 85 mg/dl upon waking up. Is it counterproductive to not get any indirect carbs to fuel your workouts from nuts or peanut butter and only get around 8 GR net carbs per day? Post-workout on keto, is it better to go protein only, protein fats, protein 15 to 20 carbs, or protein, carbs, and fat? It's a consultation.
The question is too much question there. But I will say this about blood sugar is always the same. What do I mean by that? I mean that your pancreas controls blood sugar. Whether you eat a high-carb diet or you eat a low-carb diet, your blood sugar should be the same. Think about it. Insulin lowers blood sugar. If your body eats carbs, your body cranks out insulin to lower blood sugar. If your blood sugars are running high, you got something wrong with your pancreas, okay, or your insulin sensitivity. If your blood sugars are running too low, okay, then you also have some blood sugar. You have hypoglycemic issues. So assuming you're healthy, your blood sugar should, no matter whether you're on a ketogenic diet or not, your blood sugar should be pretty much the same. Now, right after a meal, obviously, your blood sugar will go up a little bit. On a ketogenic diet, it will very rarely go up because you're not eating high carb amounts or high loads of carbohydrates. You're always going to get some indirect carbs on a ketogenic diet from, like you said, the nuts, egg yolks, everything, even the vegetables have a little bit of net carbs in them. So don't worry about it. Just don't eat any direct starchy forms of carbs. Broccoli has carbs, If you eat a lot of broccoli, you will spike your carbohydrate intake a little high, and you might come out of ketosis. So that's why I recommend like spinach and green beans and asparagus. They're much lower in carbohydrates.
Let's go to Sweeney1253. Dave, I hate the show because you make us say we hate the show, and we could get so many more questions if Sid didn't have to read this. My question is, can you use hot sauce and spices in a keto diet? And on a different subject, well, let's go with that one first. Spices and hot sauce in a keto diet.
Spices are fine as long as you're not eating spices that have carbs in them, which most don't. Hot sauces you got to be careful of, just like ketchups. They're derived from tomatoes. If you give a sprinkle of or a little shake of a hot sauce, that's fine. But if you're using a whole bottle of hot sauce, there are carbs in there. I mean, think about where it's coming from. It's a spiced tomato. So I'd be careful with hot sauces. People get into trouble with that, especially as you get hungrier. You use more and more and more of it. So a sprinkle is good. too much is no good. I would stay away from anything red colored because red usually indicates there's sugar in there or there's some kind of carbohydrate source in there. But if you can use Mrs. Dash, you can use all the powdered spices you want. Once again, always read the ingredient list because you never know what people are putting in there. Okay? People ask me about Walden Farms all the time. I don't recommend using that on a diet. Okay? I don't trust it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it's carb free.
The second part of the question is, how many sets do you think should be performed in a workout? I've trained and competed for 3 years in the lightweight division and dominated, but have never put on much size, no matter the cycle or diet. I feel like I've overtrained.
Look, I'm an advocate of high-intensity type training with lower volume. That's the way my body has always worked, and gotten results from. I know guys that do high volume and get good results. So you got to kind of know what your body is. If you have a fast metabolism, you're probably better off doing less sets, high-intensity heavy weights. To me, that builds muscle, Ronnie Coleman used to do high-intensity heavy weights and volume, but he's a genetic freak, so you really can't listen to that. I try to keep the sets under 15 sets for big body parts and under 10 sets for smaller body parts like chest, arms, and calves. So it's a variable thing. I can't give you a blanket statement that's going to apply to everyone.
Let's go. We'll stick it on the Muscle Central forum and go to Taco Hut 69. Dave, how would you rate NPP versus Deca for a mass gain cycle? What are the pros and cons to both?
Well, natural phenylpropionate is like a we call that fast-acting Deca, as opposed to natural decanoate, which is a long-acting decadurabolin. Deca has great joint relief, and I think that's one of the benefits that people get from it when they're doing, especially off-season, because they can train heavy and it doesn't hurt their joints as much. Natural phenylpropionate doesn't really give you that joint relief, not like Deca does. So to me, there's no comparison. I wouldn't even waste my time with natural phenylpropionate. Why? Deca is so much superior to it in its effect, its duration, and its joint relief. To me, there's no, unless you had a huge bottle of it that someone gave you for free, I don't see the benefit of using the NPP over Deca.
We're now going to take questions from our Instagram handle. It is official_RXMuscle, and we go to Carl Borley. This is an iron debate type of question, so with that, we will tell you that in about 10 minutes, we're going to have Guru Mania Part 2 Iron Debate as the RX Muscle panel plus Chad Nichols are going to make their 2016 Olympia predictions. Dave, question is, if Phil wins, that'll be 6 times as Mr. Olympia, equaling Dorian Yates' record. Who would you say is the better bodybuilder and why?
I grew up with blood and guts, Dorian Yates, man, and I would have to say, I'm going to qualify this. I'm not going to diss Phil here because Phil at his best versus Dorian at his best, Dorian wins. 93 Dorian Yates, unbelievable. However, there are some versions of Phil that would have beaten some versions of Dorian. 97 Dorian Yates, last Olympia one, Phil would have beat him if Phil was at his best. So I think that Dorian had vulnerabilities, later because he had a lot of injuries. He tore his bicep, he tore his part of his quad, he tore his tricep. So I think initially when he was at his best the first 2 years, he would have decimated Phil. He beat Flex Wheeler and Kevin Levrone. I mean, think about that off the bat, okay? And Sean Ray. So Dorian was really good. But I think that at the end of his career, at the end of his reign, I think Heath would have beat him. So, Phil's there, but I just don't think he had the mass and the structure of Dorian Yates, even though he's got a lot more wow than Dorian Yates had.
Let's go to eWing21. Dave, your thoughts on Jeff Seid for the men's physique showdown at the Olympia, a name that hasn't been talked about over the last couple of weeks.
I was the first guy to actually interview Jeff Seid at the NPC Junior Nationals, I think it was. Actually, I think it might have even been before that, but I know I interviewed him at the NPC Junior Nationals when he won. I think he was like 19 when he got his pro card. It might have been even younger. I don't remember, but I know I was the first guy to interview him. I believe, what's her name? Debbie Kruk introduced him to me, if I'm not mistaken, or it could have been Carol Semple. I'm not sure, one of those girls. But Jeff's a tremendous talent. He's really come into his own. I love his physique. I don't think he's going to beat the top 3 guys: Brandon Hendrickson, Jeremy Buendia, Poston, or George Brown. But I think that he has a good shot at making that top 6 and sneaking in there, or at least being on that maybe 7th, 8th place. it's a very competitive lineup this year. Even though Sadiq Hodzivic's not in it, you got some real heavy hitters in there. But I think Jeff's got a great physique, and I expect to see him in that top group.
Let's go to Cristo Masso. Hey, Dave, another creatine question. Does citric acid kill creatine, or is this just a lie, like when I say how amazing this show is?
Acids in general can be damaging to creatine monohydrate molecules. Stomach acids can damage the creatine monohydrate molecules. So I wouldn't want to add citric acid necessarily to creatine. Obviously, that could be damaging, but it's not really damaging until it gets into a liquid form. And then how long does it take before the creatine is damaged? That's the question. So a little bit probably is not going to do anything. I wouldn't be putting creatine into vinegar and drinking it. That's for sure.
We had a question about distilled water last week, so we'll take one again this week only just because it's a peak week related question, and of course we are leading into the Olympia. It's from Eugene Mata. Why do people switch to spring or distilled water during peak week? What is the science behind it?
There is no science behind it. The science is that they don't know the science. Distilled water is devoid of electrolytes. That means when it goes into the body, it's going to pull electrolytes out of your cells. Okay? When you have no electrolytes in a solution, it pulls electrolytes into the solution. That means that your muscles will dehydrate, essentially, from distilled water. People like that because they feel like when they take distilled water in, they're getting drier. But they're actually, the water is coming out of the muscle cells themselves, which is stupid, okay? You want to take in the water you've been drinking all along, which has electrolytes in it, I'm assuming, okay? And your body has already equilibrated to that. So you're not going to dehydrate yourself with the fluids you're drinking. Use water restriction, use diuretics as a way to get water out, but don't use distilled water because you will electrolyte deplete yourself and you'll cause cramping.
D-Rock P87, I hate this show more than Sean Ray hates eating his criticisms about Levroni. Question. You, Kevin Levroni, and Greg Valentino talk about suffering getting in shape for a contest. Can you elaborate just what that means?
No. What I can tell you is diet for a show, and once you diet for a competition, when you get down to about 2 to 4 weeks out, if you're doing it right and your body fat is pretty much almost non-existent, you will know what suffering is. You'll understand the meaning. You cannot describe it to anyone. You cannot quantify it. The best I could explain it as, you don't feel human anymore. You feel like a robot. You eat, you train, you sleep. You feel terrible. You never ever feel good except when you're putting food into your mouth. Maybe when you're having a cup of coffee. Other than that, you just feel irritable, anxious, and you just can't wait till it's over. That's the best way to describe it. If you don't feel that way, you're probably not dieting hard enough.
We'll take a couple of more questions. Again, we're running a little short on time. We're going to have Guru Mania Part 2. John Romano's confirmed. Chad Nichols, Chris Aceto. So it's going to be a full panel of some of the top analysts in the sport. Dave, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I know you guys love Ask Dave, and the truth of the matter is that, I have this new app called the Dave Palumbo Experience out now. You can download it from your Android or iPhone. Go to the App Store and just put Dave Palumbo Experience in. It's basically everything I've ever written, every video I've ever done, plus workouts, diet, everything. If you can't afford coaching, or even if you are a client of mine and you're already being coached, this is just a great resource to have. It's like a library of information. Not only that, it's constantly being updated on a daily or weekly basis. As stuff comes out, or as I do stuff, I give it to the app guy who's my partner. He puts it up. We make changes. There's workouts you can follow on there. I'm also answering questions on there and putting up special videos exclusively for the people who subscribe to the app. So if you like these Q&As, I'm doing Q&As on there that people will never see unless you subscribe to the app. It's only $29 a month. You can get it at the App Store, and you have it right on your phone, and you'll have privileged information. You could submit your own questions there that I will answer as well. So if you like this format, sometimes we don't have enough time to do a lot here. If you want more of it, there's more available.
Let's go to our Facebook questions and go to Alan Marashi. Dave, what is the most difficult decision you've had to make while A, you were competing, and B, as a supplement media website owner?
Toughest decision.
So let's go first with your competing career.
To stop competing. I guess that's a tough decision, right? Yeah, that was a tough one. To actually say to myself, you know what, I don't think I can be better than I was last year. That was a tough decision. And I in 2004, I said that to myself. I said, you know what, I don't think I could be better than I was in 2003. I think that my physique is hit a plateau. I had some injuries. I said I'm going to stop because I said I'll never compete when I don't think I can be better than I was the year before. And so that was a tough decision. As far as media related, I'm always making tough decisions, letting people go, hiring new people, the tough decisions. Maybe to stop doing contest coverage to the extent I was, because at one point we covered every show in the country. I had a network of photographers. We had a lot of advertising coming in at that point. I had to say to myself, you know what? It wasn't worth the time and effort we're putting into it and the money we were expending. And I said, I really want to do and concentrate on original TV programming because I felt that was the future. And it was an unpopular decision. People were pissed at me. People were saying, oh, we're going out of business. And I said, you know what? I got to make the decision because it feels right in my gut. And I'm glad I did because obviously now we have the greatest lineup of original TV live programming anywhere in the fitness world. And I know you guys are the benefactors of it, so hopefully you guys like the decision. And we're still covering the big shows like the Olympia and the Arnold and the National, so we're just not at all the little shows, and which is almost impossible now given the fact that these shows go for 4 days sometimes.
We'll take one more from Alex. Dave, the best way to minimize or eliminate shin splints, any recommendations?
Shin splints are just tears in the tibialis anterior muscle, and they usually occur when you start up cardio, after not having done them for a while, or you go on vacation and you walk like 5 miles a day. You get little tears in those tibialis anterior muscle. Icing helps. Really, over time, if you continue to do the activity, I used to get them when I would start, my track season would start. The first week, we'd be like in agony from shin splints. And that's because most of us train our calves or work our calves. We don't work the tibialis anterior. And when you're running, that eccentric down motion really puts a lot of stress on that tibialis anterior. Like I said, stretching it, icing it. Usually after a week or so, they go away, and then they won't come back as long as you continue to do the activity. I want to just mention one other thing too. A lot of people buy the steroid testing kits from my website called Roid Test, developed by Bill Llewellyn. I'm the exclusive distributor in the U.S. And I sell them on DavePalumbo.com. They changed the format. We got some better testing reagents now, and it's a little different. You got to watch the video on my website, DavePalumbo.com, to see which testing kit you need to buy. There's an A vial, B vial, C vial, D vial. If you're testing injectables, the D vial is the most valuable. So you get a D plus an A or a B. If you're testing orals, you got to use a C vial. The C vial is the most accurate. So you get a C plus an A or B. Now, how do you know which ones to buy for which compounds you're using? Well, there's a color chart on the DavePalumbo.com website under Roid Test. You look at the color chart, you see what you're trying to test, and you pick whatever vials it tells you, C or D, or D and A and B, whatever they have. I have all the combinations there that are the best. And the good thing is that if it's not what you think it is in there, it will still tell you what it is on the color chart. So it might be confusing now, but I told Bill Llewellyn not to change it, but he said this is a way more accurate test even than before, and so that's the way it works now. So if you're confused, you can email me directly to huge285@AOL.com, but just look at that color chart. It'll tell you exactly which vials to buy. And we sell them in double packs. So there's you can get 2 A's, 2 B's, 2 C's, or 2 D's. So let's say you're trying to test Trenbolone. You'd buy 2 D's and I think 2 A's. So, or you'd buy 1 of each and you get a double. So you'd actually be able to test 2 products with that. These things are invaluable. I can't tell you how many people spend so much money on anabolic steroids and they don't even know what they're taking is real. Spend the $20 or whatever it is, $25. Get the testing kits. You'll thank me.
With that, this is going to do it for this episode of Ask Dave. We know so many questions out on the table right now, and again, we apologize for the short, abbreviated episode, but again, it was either going to be that or no episode this week, and we wanted to make sure that we got this on the schedule for this week. In about 5 minutes, Guru Mania Part 2, Iron Debate, Dave Palumbo, Chris Aceto, John Romano, and special guest Chad Nichols are going to make their 2016 Olympia predictions. We'll see you in 5 minutes.